The mining ship Terran's Edge drifted through the asteroid field like a metal whale among cosmic dust. Captain Elena Vasquez pressed her face against the observation deck's reinforced glass, watching the automated harvesters tear chunks of rock from a particularly large asteroid. Just another day in humanity's endless quest for resources in the outer rim of their solar system. "Captain, we've got something weird here," called out Lieutenant James Chen from the communication station. His voice carried that particular tone that made Elena's stomach tighten, the tone that meant their routine mining operation was about to become anything but routine. "Define weird, Chen," Elena said, not taking her eyes off the asteroid field. At 42, she'd been running mining operations for the Terran Colonial Authority for 15 years. She'd learned that weird in space usually meant expensive delays or dangerous situations. "I'm picking up artificial structures inside asteroid 347b, the one we're currently mining." Chen's fingers danced across his console, bringing up holographic displays that painted the bridge in blue light. "The scanners are showing hollow chambers, geometric patterns. This isn't natural formation, Captain." Dr. Sarah Kim, the expedition's xenogeologist, practically jumped from her seat. At 28, she was the youngest member of the crew, but her expertise in alien artifacts had earned her a place on this mission. Her dark eyes sparkled with excitement as she studied the readouts. "Elena, look at these patterns," Sarah said, her voice breathless. "The mathematical precision, the materials composition, this could be first civilization technology." Elena finally turned from the observation deck. The first civilization was the holy grail of xenoarchaeology, the theoretical advanced race that had supposedly seeded technology across the galaxy millions of years ago, then vanished without a trace. Every government and corporation in human space had spent fortunes searching for their artifacts. "Are you certain?" Elena asked, moving, to stand behind Sarah's workstation. "The energy signatures match theoretical models we've been working with for decades," Sarah replied, pulling up comparison charts. "But there's something else. The harmonic frequencies coming from inside the asteroid. They're not just artificial. They're responding to our presence." Before Elena could respond, the ship's lights flickered. A low hum filled the air, growing stronger by the second. Through the observation windows, the asteroid they'd been mining began to glow with an eerie blue light. "Chen, get us back from that rock." "Now," Elena ordered. "I'm trying, Captain, but something's wrong with the engines. They're not responding to commands." Chen's hands flew over his controls, sweat beading on his forehead despite the ship's cool temperature. The glow from the asteroid intensified, and suddenly, a beam of coherent light shot out from its surface, enveloping the Terran's Edge. The bridge filled with blinding illumination, and when it faded, they were no longer in the asteroid field. They were inside a vast chamber, carved from living rock and filled with technology that defied easy description. Crystalline structures, pulsed with soft light, creating patterns that hurt to look at directly. The air itself seemed to hum with power. "Where are we?" whispered Dr. Marcus Webb, the mission's linguist and cultural specialist. At 55, Marcus had seen more alien ruins than almost anyone alive. But this was beyond anything in his experience. Before anyone could answer, a voice filled the chamber, not heard through their ears, but somehow communicated directly to their minds. It spoke in perfect English, though the words carried harmonic undertones that suggested vast intelligence. "Welcome, children of Terra. We have been waiting for you to return home." Elena felt her blood turn to ice. "Return home? What do you mean?" The voice continued, and as it spoke, holographic images began to form in the air around them. Images of Earth, but not the Earth Elena knew. This Earth was covered in massive cities that stretched from continent to continent, populated by beings that looked remarkably human, but who wielded technology that made current human science look like stone tools. Long ago, your species was not the struggling colonies you are today. You were the architects, the ones who seeded life and civilization across this galaxy. But something went wrong. Your memories were taken. Your power was stripped away. You were reduced to starting over on your birth world, while others claimed the stars you once ruled. Sarah's hands trembled as she worked her instruments, trying to record everything. The dating on these images, they're showing Earth as it was 65 million years ago, before the asteroid impact that killed the dinosaurs. The impact was not natural, the voice said, responding to Sarah's whispered words. It was a weapon, used by those who feared what humanity might become again. Elena's mind reeled. Everything she thought she knew about human history, about humanity's place in the universe, was crumbling around her. Who did this to us? The chamber around them shifted and new images appeared. Fleets of alien vessels surrounding Earth, technologies beyond imagination being used to strip memories from an entire species, vast cities being buried beneath, manufactured catastrophes. The Coalition of Silence, the voice replied. 73 species who united in fear of humanity's return to power. They believed that by reducing you to a primitive state, they could prevent the architects from reclaiming their rightful place among the stars. Marcus stepped forward, his academic mind trying to process the implications. But why are you telling us this now? Who are you? I am what remains of your people's final gift to themselves, a guardian left behind to ensure that one day, when humanity was ready, the truth would be revealed. That day has come. You have rediscovered space travel. You have begun to reclaim the stars. The Coalition has taken notice. Elena felt a chill that had nothing to do with the chamber's temperature. What do you mean they've taken notice? The voice's tone grew grave. Even now, Coalition fleets are moving toward your solar system. They know you are beginning to remember who you are. They will not allow humanity to awaken fully. They plan to finish what they started 65 million years ago. The chamber filled with new images, massive alien fleets, technologies that could crack planets like eggs, weapons that could sterilize entire star systems, and all of it was heading toward Earth. How long do we have? Elena asked, though she dreaded the answer. 3 solar rotations of your home world, 3 days in your current measurement, but there is hope. The knowledge of your ancestors has not been completely lost. Some of it survives, hidden in places like this throughout the galaxy. If you can find enough of these caches before the Coalition arrives. The voice trailed off, but the implication was clear. Humanity might have a chance to defend itself, but only if they could rediscover their lost heritage in time. Elena looked around at her small crew, a mining captain, a xenogeologist, a linguist, and a communications officer. 4 humans who had just learned that their entire species was living a lie, and that they had 3 days to help save humanity from extinction. Show us, Elena said, her voice steady despite the terror and wonder warring in her chest. Show us what we need to know. The chamber pulsed with light, and Elena felt her mind expanding as information flooded in. Not just facts and figures, but memories that weren't her own, knowledge that felt both foreign and familiar. She could see the galaxy as it truly was, feel the networks of ancient human technology that still lay hidden among the stars. But she could also sense something else, the vast alien minds that were already moving toward Earth, ancient beings, who had spent 65 million years ensuring that humanity remained weak and scattered. The Coalition of Silence was coming, and humanity's true test was about to begin. Chapter 2. Awakening the Forgotten. 3 hours had passed in the ancient chamber, though it felt like days. Elena's mind still reeled from the flood of inherited memories, visions of humans who had once commanded starfleets that spanned galaxies, who had built technologies that could reshape matter itself. We need to get back to Earth, Elena said, her voice hoarse from the mental strain. If we only have 3 days, 2 days and 21 hours now by your measurement, the ancient voice interrupted, but simply returning to your home world will not be sufficient. The Coalition has already begun their approach. Your current technology cannot detect them, much less defend against them. Dr. Sarah Kim looked up from her instruments, her face pale but determined. The memory downloads you've given us, they include locations of other caches like this one. Some of them contain actual technologies, not just information. Marcus Webb was frantically taking notes, his linguistic training helping him organize the massive amount of cultural data they'd received. According to what we've learned, there are at least 12 major sites within our solar system alone. Most are hidden on moons or asteroids just like this one. Elena felt a strange sensation. Part of her mind seemed to know these locations already, as if she'd visited them in dreams she couldn't quite remember. The problem is time. Even with our fastest ships, we can't reach all of them before the coalition arrives. Which is why you must choose carefully, the voice said. 3 sites contain the most crucial technologies for your survival. The first is hidden within your moon, Luna, as you call it. It contains the activation codes for humanity's automated defense network. Chen looked up from his console where he'd been working to understand the ship's new systems. Somehow during their time in the chamber, the Terran's Edge had been upgraded with technology that made their original mining equipment look like stone tools. Automated defense network? Chen asked. Are you saying we built defenses around Earth before we lost our memories? Not just around Earth, around all the worlds humanity once protected. But the networks have been dormant for millions of years. They require specific activation sequences that only those with restored memories can provide. Sarah's excitement was building again. The second site? Mars. Beneath the Valles Marineris Canyon system lies a manufacturing facility. It can produce ships and weapons using your ancestors' designs, but only if provided with the correct materials and programming codes. Elena nodded grimly. The pattern was becoming clear. They had the tools to fight back, but they needed to gather the right keys to unlock them. And the third site? That one is the most dangerous, but potentially the most important. It lies within the asteroid belt, another installation like this one, but larger. It contains not just technology, but biological enhancements that can restore humanity's original capabilities. Marcus looked up sharply. Biological enhancements? You mean we were physically different before? Your ancestors were genetically modified to interface directly with their technologies, to survive in environments that would kill baseline humans, to think in ways that allowed them to process information at superhuman speeds. The Coalition's weapon didn't just remove your memories and destroy your cities, it also reverted your biology to its original unenhanced state. Elena felt a chill of understanding. That's why we've been struggling so much to rediscover technology the rest of the galaxy takes for granted. We're literally not the same species that created all this. Correct. But the changes can be reversed if you have the courage to reclaim your true heritage. The chamber around them began to pulse with a different rhythm, and Elena could sense something changing in the ancient technology. The Coalition's forward scouts are closer than anticipated, the voice said, its tone now urgent. You must choose now. This facility will transport you to one of the 3 sites immediately, but once you leave, this chamber will shut down permanently to avoid detection. You will be on your own. Elena looked at her crew. Chen was young and talented, but he'd never been in real combat. Sarah was brilliant but inexperienced with the kind of dangers they were about to face. Marcus was wise but not physically capable of the kind of mission they were contemplating. What about the other sites? She asked. If we can only reach one, there are other human vessels in your solar system. The activation of this facility has already sent signals to every human ship and station within range. Some will answer the call, but many will not believe what they're hearing. The Coalition has spent millennia ensuring that humanity thinks of itself as young and weak. Chen's console lit up with incoming communications. Captain, I'm receiving transmissions from across the system. Military vessels, civilian ships, even some of the outer colony stations. They're all reporting the same thing. Strange energy, readings, voices speaking to them about humanity's true history. Elena made her decision. We go to Luna first. If there really is an automated defense network, we need to activate it before the Coalition arrives. Sarah, can you program our ships? New systems to reach the other sites after we finish at Luna? Sarah nodded, though her face showed the strain of processing technologies that were barely comprehensible. I think so. The enhanced navigation system seemed to respond to intent as much as programming. If we focus on what we need to find, then It settled. Elena turned toward the source of the ancient voice. Send us to Luna, and may whatever gods our ancestors believed in help us all. The chamber filled with light, and Elena felt the strange sensation of being pulled apart and put back together again. When the light faded, they were in space, the Terran's edge floating above Earth's moon. But Luna looked different now. Their enhanced vision could see the hidden structures beneath its surface, the vast complex of tunnels and chambers that had been waiting for humanity's return. My God, Sarah whispered, staring at her instruments. The readings I'm getting. There's an entire city down there. Elena looked at Earth hanging in space like a blue jewel. Somewhere up there among the stars too distant to see, an alien fleet was approaching with the intent to finish what they'd started 65 million years ago. But for the first time since learning the truth, Elena felt something other than despair. She felt the stirring of something ancient and powerful, the memory of what humanity had once been and could be again. Take us down, she ordered. It's time to wake up the defenses. As the Terran's edge descended toward Luna's surface, Elena couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched. Not by the Coalition, they were still too far away, but by something else. Something that had been waiting patiently for 65 million years for this moment to arrive. The question was, would humanity prove worthy of its ancient legacy? Or would they fall to the same fears and divisions that had allowed the Coalition to defeat them the first time? Only time would tell, and time was running out fast. Chapter 3. The Luna Revelation. The Terran's edge settled into a crater on Luna's far side, guided by navigation systems that seemed to know exactly where to go. Elena watched through the observation deck as hidden panels in the lunar surface slid open, revealing a docking bay that looked like it had been built yesterday despite being millions of years old. The preservation technology is incredible, Sarah breathed, watching her instruments track energy signatures that painted the entire area in artificial light. Everything down there is in perfect working condition. Chen was monitoring communications from Earth and the other colonies. Captain, we're getting reports from across the system. Other mining ships, military vessels, even passenger liners, they're all receiving the same wake-up signals we did. But most of them think it's some kind of hoax or enemy psychological warfare. Elena understood their skepticism. 24 hours ago, she would have thought the same thing. Any word from Earth Command? That's the strange part. Radio silence from all major government and military installations. It's like they're deliberately ignoring what's happening. Marcus looked up from his cultural analysis workstation, his face grim. Maybe they're not ignoring it. Maybe they know exactly what's happening and they're terrified. The ship settled into the docking bay with a soft vibration, and Elena could hear the hiss of atmospheric processors bringing the chamber up to breathable conditions. Through the windows, she could see corridors stretching away into Luna's depths, lit by strips of light that activated as they watched. The facility is preparing for our arrival, Elena said. Full environmental suits, everyone. We don't know what we're going to find down there. 20 minutes later, they were walking through corridors that defied everything Elena thought she knew about engineering. The walls seemed to be grown rather than built, with surfaces that responded to their presence by increasing illumination and adjusting the atmospheric conditions. The technology integration is seamless, Sarah said, running her hands along a wall that felt warm and slightly organic. It's like the entire facility is alive. They reached a central chamber that took Elena's breath away. It was enormous, easily the size of a football stadium, and filled with holographic displays showing the entire solar system. But what caught her attention immediately was the figure waiting for them in the center of the room. It was human, but not quite. Tall and graceful, with features that were familiar yet somehow perfected. When it spoke, its voice was the same one they'd heard in the asteroid chamber. Welcome to Luna Command, the heart of humanity's solar defense network. I am Keeper 7, one of the synthetic intelligences your ancestors created to maintain their legacy. Elena found her voice. You're artificial? I am what your people might call an AI, though that term fails to capture the complexity of what I am. I was created from the merged consciousness of 7 of humanity's greatest minds, preserved in synthetic form to guide your species when the time came for awakening. Marcus stepped forward, his academic curiosity overcoming his fear. How many of you are there? 13 keepers were created, each responsible for different aspects of humanity's legacy. I oversee defense systems. Keeper 3 manages manufacturing. Keeper 12 handles biological restoration. Others oversee exploration, research, cultural preservation. The synthetic being paused. Many have been destroyed over the millennia by coalition forces, but enough remain to serve our purpose. The holographic displays around them shifted, showing the approaching coalition fleet in terrifying detail. Elena counted hundreds of ships, each one larger than anything humanity had ever built. They're coming from multiple directions, Elena observed, trying to surround the entire solar system. The coalition has learned from their previous encounter with humanity. They are not taking chances this time. Keeper 7 gestured, and the display zoomed in on Earth. They plan to sterilize your homeworld completely, then hunt down every human colony and outpost in the galaxy. Chen was studying the tactical displays. What kind of defenses do we have? The chamber around them transformed, showing a 3-dimensional map of the solar system with countless points of light, representing hidden installations. Your ancestors established a network of automated defense platforms throughout the system. Weapon platforms, sensor arrays, manufacturing facilities, all hidden and waiting for activation. Sarah gasped as she recognized the scope of what they were seeing. There are thousands of them. How did we miss all this? The coalition's memory suppression was very thorough. Not only did they make humanity forget its past, they also installed psychological blocks that prevented your species from looking too closely at certain anomalies. Every time human scientists detected something unusual, they would find ways to rationalize it or ignore it entirely. Elena felt a surge of anger. They didn't just attack our bodies and minds. They crippled our ability to discover the truth. Precisely. But those blocks are breaking down now. As more humans are exposed to their true history, the suppression field is weakening. Soon every human in the galaxy will begin to remember who they truly are. And the coalition knows this, Marcus said, understanding dawning in his voice. That's why they're coming now. They want to destroy us before we fully awaken. Keeper 7 nodded. But they have made a critical error. They believe humanity is still the primitive species they left behind 65 million years ago. They do not know that some of your people have already begun to reclaim their heritage. The display shifted again, showing human ships throughout the solar system. Not just the few that Elena knew about, but hundreds of vessels that had been hidden or disguised as simple mining operations, cargo haulers, and research expeditions. Are you saying that some humans never forgot? Elena asked. Small groups maintained the knowledge throughout the millennia, passing it down through bloodlines and secret societies. They have been preparing for this day, building weapons and ships using recovered technology, training for the moment when humanity would need to fight for its survival. Chen's communications panel lit up with incoming transmissions. Captain, I'm receiving coded messages from vessels throughout the system. They're identifying themselves with call signs I've never heard before, but somehow I understand what they mean. Elena looked at the tactical displays showing the approaching coalition fleet, then at the awakening human forces. The odds were still heavily against them, but for the first time she felt like they might have a chance. What do we need to do to activate the defense network? She asked. Keeper 7 extended its hand, revealing a crystalline device that pulsed with inner light. Each of you must interface with the control matrix. The network requires authorization from multiple restored humans to prevent accidental activation. Elena reached out and grasped the crystal. Immediately her mind exploded, with new connections, not just information but actual control systems that responded to her thoughts. She could feel the defense platforms throughout the solar system, dormant but ready to awaken at her command. One by one, her crew members joined the interface. Elena felt their minds connecting with hers, creating a group consciousness that allowed them to comprehend technologies that would have been incomprehensible to their unenhanced minds. "The network is responding," Sarah said, her voice filled with wonder. "I can see everything, every platform, every weapon, every sensor array." "And I can see the Coalition fleet," Chen added grimly. "They're not just coming to destroy us. They're coming to harvest our technology before they finish the job." Elena felt a new emotion rising within her, not just anger or determination, but something deeper, a sense of awakening to powers and responsibilities that were her birthright. "Then, let's show them what happens when you wake up sleeping giants." She sent the activation command through the interface, and across the solar system, humanity's ancient defenses began to come online for the first time in 65 million years. The final battle for humanity's survival was about to begin. Chapter 4. The Reckoning. The Coalition fleet emerged from hyperspace at the edge of the solar system like a plague of metal locusts. Admiral Vexthai of the Korthak Imperium stood on the bridge of the flagship Silence Eternal, watching the tactical displays with satisfaction. In over 1,000 years of service to the Coalition, he had overseen the extinction of 47 species. Humanity would be number 48. "Sensor reports, Tactical Officer," Vexthai commanded, his 4 arms working independently at different control stations. "Primitive orbital installations around their primary world, Admiral. Basic fusion-powered vessels in the asteroid belt. No sign of advanced defensive systems." The tactical officer's species communicated through color changes in their crystalline skin, now showing the blue-green of confidence. Vexthai allowed himself a moment of disappointment. He had hoped the humans might provide more of a challenge than the last few species they'd exterminated. "Begin the sterilization protocol. I want this finished before the humans can even comprehend what's happening to them." But as the Coalition fleet moved deeper into the solar system, something began to go wrong. On Luna, Elena watched the approaching armada through enhanced displays that showed her every ship, every weapon, every energy signature. The interface with the defense network allowed her to think and process information at speeds that would have been impossible for her unenhanced mind. "Keeper 7, how long before they reach Earth?" she asked. "At their current approach vector, 6 hours and 14 minutes, but they are about to encounter the first surprise your ancestors left for them." Elena felt her consciousness expand as the defense network brought more systems online, hidden throughout the asteroid belt. Weapon platforms that had masqueraded as rocks for millions of years began to reveal their true nature. Admiral Vexthai was studying intelligence reports when his tactical officer suddenly flashed urgent red, warning colors. "Admiral, we're detecting massive energy spikes throughout the asteroid belt. Numerous objects are showing artificial signatures that weren't there moments ago." Before Vexthai could respond, the first wave of attacks began. What the Coalition had thought were simple asteroids suddenly revealed themselves as heavily armed battle stations, unleashing weapons that tore through the fleet's forward elements with devastating efficiency. "Impossible," Vexthai hissed. "Human technology is centuries behind ours. How are they generating these energy outputs?" His science officer, a being that resembled a floating mass of tentacles and sensors, pulsed with distress. "Admiral, these aren't human-built weapons. The technology signatures match theoretical models of ancient architect designs." Vexthai felt his confidence wavering. The architects, humanity's original name, had been extinct for 65 million years. The Coalition had made sure of that. "Continue the advance. These must be automated systems left over from before the suppression. They cannot have been properly maintained after all this time." But as the Coalition fleet pushed deeper into the solar system, the defenses only grew stronger. Hidden facilities on Mars began launching swarms of fighter craft that moved with impossible speed and precision. Weapon platforms concealed within the moons of Jupiter opened fire with energies that could crack a planet's crust. Elena felt the battle raging through the defense network sensors. The Coalition was powerful, but they were fighting the accumulated might of humanity's ancient empire, an empire that had once spanned the galaxy. "Sarah, how are we doing?" Elena asked, her consciousness barely maintaining connection with her physical body. "We're holding them back, but they're adapting quickly." Coalition ships are beginning to coordinate their attacks, focusing fire on individual defense platforms. Sarah's mind was connected to the manufacturing facilities, watching automated systems produce replacement ships and weapons at rates that defied physics. Marcus was interfacing with the cultural databases, searching for any information that might give them an advantage. Elena, I've found something. The Coalition isn't just afraid of our technology, they're afraid of what we represent. What do you mean? According to these records, humanity wasn't just another species that achieved spaceflight. We were the first. The original explorers who mapped the galaxy, seeded life on countless worlds, and then shared our knowledge freely with other species. Elena felt a chill of understanding. The Coalition species, they were all our creations originally? Not creations, but species we uplifted. We taught them science, gave them technology, helped them reach the stars. And when they decided we were too powerful, they used our own gifts against us. Admiral Vexthai was beginning to panic. Half his fleet had been destroyed, and the humans were showing capabilities that shouldn't exist. But worse than the losses was the growing realization of what this meant. Science officer, confirm the energy signatures again. Are these truly architect technologies? Yes, Admiral. But more than that, they're integrated with quantum consciousness networks. The humans aren't just using ancient technology, they're thinking with ancient minds. Vexthai's species had evolved from creatures that humanity had found struggling in the mud of a tidally locked world. The Coalition had spent millennia trying to forget their origins, but now the evidence was undeniable. Send a priority transmission to Coalition Command, Vexthai ordered. The humans have awakened. I repeat, the architects have returned. Elena felt the moment when the Coalition's assault began to falter. Through the defense network, she could sense the fear spreading through their ranks, not just tactical concern, but existential terror. They're pulling back, Chen reported. The main fleet is retreating to the outer system. But Elena knew the danger was far from over. Keeper 7, what are they doing? Regrouping. The Coalition fleet carries planet-killer weapons, devices, designed to destroy entire worlds rather than conquer them. If they cannot defeat humanity's defenses, they will simply sterilize the entire solar system. Elena felt her consciousness expand further as more human ships arrived from across the galaxy, vessels that had been traveling in secret for decades, carrying the descendants of those who had never forgotten humanity's true nature. Captain Joe, we of the battleship Remembered Glory opened a communication channel. Admiral Vasquez, this is Joe Way of the Hidden Fleet. We've been waiting 70 years for this day. Elena blinked in surprise. Admiral, I'm just a mining captain. Not anymore. The Defense Network has recognized you as the senior command, authority for this sector. Every human ship in the system is now under your command. Elena looked at the tactical displays showing hundreds of human vessels converging on Earth. Ships that shouldn't exist, carrying weapons that defied known physics, crewed by humans who somehow remembered skills they shouldn't possess. How many of us are there? She asked. More than the Coalition suspects, fewer than we need, Joe replied. But we have advantages they don't expect. On the flagship Silence Eternal, Admiral Vexthai received the transmission he'd been dreading. Admiral, this is Coalition Command. You are authorized to deploy the Scorched Galaxy Protocol. If humanity cannot be contained, then every world they might reach must be destroyed. Vexthai felt his heart sink. The Scorched Galaxy Protocol meant the systematic destruction of every planet, moon, and space habitat in human space. Billions of other species would die to ensure humanity's extinction. But as he prepared to give the order, something impossible happened. The space around his fleet began to ripple and distort, and suddenly they were no longer at the edge of the solar system. They were surrounded by human ships. Elena smiled as the quantum displacement field generators completed their work. It was a technology that had been theoretical when humanity was at its peak, the ability to fold space and move entire fleets instantly across vast distances. Keeper 7, I thought you said this technology was experimental. It was. But your species has had 65 million years to work out the problems. The hidden fleets have been perfecting technologies that your ancestors could only dream about. Admiral Vexthai stared at the human fleet surrounding them. Ships that looked like living things, weapons that seemed to bend reality itself, and, in the center of it all, a small mining vessel that somehow radiated power that made his sensors scream warnings. Coalition fleet, Elena's voice echoed across every ship in Vexthai's armada. You have 60 seconds to surrender or be destroyed. Vexthai laughed bitterly. You cannot be serious, human. My fleet still outnumbers yours. Does it? Elena asked. That's when Vexthai realized the truth. The space around them was filled with ships, not just the human vessels he could see, but thousands more that were somehow hidden from his sensors. They weren't just facing a single human fleet. They were facing the entire awakened might of humanity's hidden empire. How? He whispered. Elena's voice carried across the void, and for the first time, Vexthai heard something in it that chilled. His alien blood. The quiet confidence of a species that had ruled the galaxy once and was prepared to do so again. We've been preparing for this day since you first attacked us. Every generation a few of us remembered the truth. Every century we built more ships, developed better weapons, planned for the moment when humanity would awaken. Did you really think we would just sit quietly and wait for you to finish the job? Vexthai looked at his tactical displays showing the impossible numbers of human vessels surrounding them. Ships that seemed to emerge from nothing. Weapons that operated on principles his science officers couldn't even identify. You're still just humans, he said, though his voice lacked conviction. No, Elena replied. We're not just humans anymore. We're what humans become when you give them 65 million years to prepare for war. Epilogue. The New Age. 6. Months after the Coalition's surrender, Elena stood on the observation deck of Terran Command, humanity's new mobile capital ship. Through the reinforced transparistile, she could see the construction yards where human and former Coalition engineers worked side by side, building ships that combined ancient human designs with technologies from across the galaxy. The transformation is remarkable, said Dr. Sarah Kim, who now served as Director of Archaeological Recovery. We've located over 300 ancient human sites across the galaxy, each one containing knowledge that was thought lost forever. Elena nodded, though her attention was focused on the broader changes occurring throughout human space. The revelation of humanity's true history had sparked what historians were already calling the Great Awakening, a period of rapid technological and cultural advancement that was reshaping human civilization. How are the integration efforts going with the Coalition species? Elena asked. Marcus Webb, now serving as ambassador for interspecies relations, smiled. Better than expected. Once they got over the initial shock of learning their true origins, most Coalition species have been eager to rebuild the partnerships their ancestors had with humanity. The Korthak have been particularly helpful. They've shared their records of human sites they've been monitoring for millennia. Chen, who had been promoted to Admiral of the Solar Defense Fleet, approached with a datapad. Elena, we're receiving reports from our deep space exploration teams. It looks like humanity wasn't the only species to survive the original Coalition purge. We've found evidence of at least a dozen other architect-affiliated civilizations that went into hiding. Elena felt a familiar thrill of discovery. The galaxy was far more complex than any of them had realized. Any signs they're ready to emerge? Some are. The Crystalline Collective on Rigel 7th has agreed to a first contact meeting next month. The Voidwalkers and the Magellanic Clouds are being more cautious, but they're willing to establish communication protocols. Elena looked out at the stars, thinking about how much had changed since that fateful day in the asteroid field. Humanity had not only survived their intended extinction, but had emerged stronger than ever. The secret fleets that had been building in hidden systems for millennia were now openly patrolling human space. The defense networks were being expanded and upgraded with technologies that made the original installations look primitive. But perhaps most importantly, humans themselves were changing. The biological restoration programs overseen by Keeper 12 had allowed those who chose it to reclaim their species' enhanced capabilities. Enhanced intelligence, improved physical capabilities, extended lifespans, and direct technological interfaces were becoming commonplace among human populations. What about Earth? Elena asked. Are they adapting well to the changes? Sarah's expression grew thoughtful. It's been challenging. Most of Earth's population spent their entire lives believing humanity was young and struggling. Learning that we're actually the galaxy's elder species has been difficult to process. Elena understood. She still struggled with it herself sometimes. The weight of humanity's true history, the knowledge of what they had once been and lost, the responsibility of rebuilding a galactic civilization. It was overwhelming even for enhanced minds. But there's something else, Marcus added. The cultural archives we've recovered show that this isn't the first time humanity has faced extinction and recovered. Our species seems to have a cycle. We build great civilizations, face catastrophic challenges, survive through hidden enclaves, and then emerge stronger than before. Elena raised an eyebrow. How many times has this happened? At least 7 that we can document. Each time humanity reaches a peak of galactic influence, faces a catastrophic threat, appears to be destroyed, but actually survives in hidden enclaves. Then millennia later we emerge again, usually more advanced than before. Elena felt a chill as the implications sank in. So the coalition wasn't unique. There have been other attempts to destroy humanity throughout history. It appears so, and each time humanity has not only survived but learned from the experience. The technologies we've recovered aren't just from our most recent civilization. They're accumulated knowledge from multiple cycles of rise and fall. Chen looked up from his tactical displays. That would explain why some of our recovered technologies seem so advanced. They're not just 65 million years old. Some of them might be hundreds of millions of years old. Sarah nodded excitedly. The dating on some artifacts we found suggests human civilization might be far older than even the keepers initially told us. We might not just be the galaxy's elder species, we might be its first sapient species. Elena absorbed this information, trying to comprehend what it meant for humanity's future. If we've been through this cycle before, then we should be prepared for it to happen again. Already working on it, Chen replied. The new defense networks we're building are designed to remain hidden and self-maintaining for millions of years if necessary. And we're establishing permanent hidden colonies in other galaxies, just in case something happens to the Milky Way. Elena smiled at the scope of human planning. Even after learning they were an ancient species, humans were still thinking ahead, still preparing for challenges that might not arise for millions of years. A soft chime indicated an incoming priority transmission. Elena accepted the connection, and a holographic figure appeared. One of the newly awakened keepers from a site in the Andromeda Galaxy. Commander Vasquez, this is Keeper 21 from the Andromeda Archives. We have urgent news. Elena straightened. Go ahead, Keeper. Our long-range sensors have detected something approaching from the space between galaxies. It's massive, larger than anything in our records, and it's heading directly for the local group. Elena felt her enhanced mind processing the implications at superhuman speed. How long until it arrives? Approximately 50,000 years at its current velocity. But, Commander, this isn't a ship or a fleet, it's something else entirely. Something that our deepest archives have only vague references to. Something called the Silence. The bridge fell quiet as everyone absorbed this news. Elena looked around, at her crew, seeing the same mixture of concern and determination that had carried them through their first encounter with the truth about humanity. Well, Elena said finally, I guess we have some work to do. 50,000 years should be just enough time to prepare. As the stars wheeled overhead and the great ships of humanity's reborn civilization continued their expansion across the galaxy, Elena couldn't help but smile. Humanity had survived extinction once before through preparation, determination, and the willingness to think beyond the limitations of a single lifetime. Whatever the Silence was, whatever new threat approached, from the darkness between galaxies, humanity would be ready. They had learned the most important lesson of all, that survival wasn't just about being strong enough to win today's battle, but wise enough to prepare for tomorrow's war. The cycle would continue, as it always had. Humanity would face the darkness, Endure it, learn from it, and emerge stronger than before. After all, they were the architects. They had built civilizations that spanned millions of years. They had seeded life across the galaxy and taught lesser species to reach for the stars. And they were just getting started. In the depths of space, automated systems that had been dormant for eons began to stir. Manufacturing facilities in hidden dimensions started their ancient work once more. And somewhere in the space between galaxies, something vast and patient took notice of the small blue world where humanity had first opened its eyes to the stars. The next chapter of humanity's story was about to begin. The end.